Book 2. This is the final part of my sort of vibe tour. We've finished all my books now. I'm just going to show you my DVDs, Blu-rays, and a couple of games I've got. So to begin with, we've got a collector's edition of Van Helsing, which has still got that here. I've got to get it off at some point. Put it there. Oh, sorry, that way. Van Helsing. I like this film. It's not necessarily the greatest film. It's very much it's a part of the Universal horror, and it was made in 2004. I enjoy it. It's not a faithful adaptation of Dracula or any other thing, or any of the or Frankenstein or The Wolfman. Both of them appear in this, but it's good, pulpy, gothic horror fun, and it's got some great actors in it. Obviously, it's got Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale, and that you wouldn't know it is Dracula, played by Richard Roxburgh, the great Australian actor who's played Carver. I forgot in the TV series Rake about the dissolute barrister, and also interestingly, he's played both. He's played Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty in a film and a TV show, both of which I have here and which I will show you in a moment. Which we'll get to. But as I say, enjoyable sort of pulpy gothic horror fun, very much in the style of the very much a modernised version of the Universal horror films. It's more sort of action horror, to be honest, but really good fun. Next one is a film that I first saw in the cinema with my nan when I would have been 5, which is Wind in the Willows, which is made with quite a few of the Monty Python members. So there's Eric Idle, and that is Terry Jones, the late Terry Jones, sadly, and of course John Cleese is in this, and I think Michael Palin. Yes, Michael Palin has been in it. There's John Cleese as a barrister in a very entertaining courtroom scene. Steve Coogan, there's Terry Jones as Mr. Toad, Eric Idle as Ratty. You have Nicole. Let's make sure I've got his name right. Nicole Williamson as Badger there, and then you've got Anthony Sher as the villainous leader of the Wheels. There's a great scene at the end where Mr. Toad, Ratty, Badger, and Moldy are all taking on the Weasels as they're blind drunk, and they do a song called Best of Friends, which is really entertaining. I very clearly remember this as a kid, and I've always loved it, and I've rewatched it since, and it's just as good. I would recommend that to anybody, especially if you've got kids, young kids. It's a really entertaining film for young kids as well as parents. Next one is Skyfall, the James Bond film. One of the better Daniel Craig films. My view of the Daniel Craig films have changed over the years. I still think that Casino Royale is the best film. Of those films that came afterwards, this is one of the better ones. More like a traditional Bond film than most of the Craig era films are. And of course, sorry, no, what am I thinking of? No, I'm thinking of Spectre when I said that. This is not like a traditional Bond film at all. But it is quite good. It's a Bond defending MI6 in England from a disgruntled ex-MI6 agent. This is in some ways a golden eye in that aspect. But it's a really, really good film. The film I was thinking of instead was Spectre, which is a lot more like a traditional Bond film. It is probably most like a traditional Bond film that you had in the Daniel Craig era. And hopefully when the new Bond film comes out, it will be more like a traditional Bond film and less like Daniel Craig's films. Next one is a TV series. Oh, it's actually 2 TV series. It's 3 Men in a Boat, which will no doubt get Mark from Book Time with Elvis his attention. Which is where Griff Rhys Jones, Rory McGrath, and Dara O'Brien sort of reenact the journey from London up to Oxford in the Jerome Classic 3 Million boat, and then in the second, that was in the first series. In the second series, they go off, which is called 3 Million Another Boat, and they start sailing from Cornwall up to the Isle of Wight to take part in the, well, I think it's Cornwall. Well, they sail to the Isle of Wight to take part in Cowes. So, and that's the boat they sail in the second series, and that is them in the second series. It's a really entertaining series if you're into it. They also did a third one where they go sailing around. They did a third series where they go sailing around Europe, and and the final series where they went sailing down the American coast or the North American coast, which is also entertaining. But the first series is really the best one. The next one is it's an entertaining spy film called The Jigsaw Man, which has got Michael Caine, Laurence Olivier in, as it says there. But also it has Robert Powell and which is Robert Powell, isn't it? Yeah, it is Robert Powell. It's also got Charles Gray, who's probably most famous for playing Blofeld in the James Bond in Diamonds Are Forever, as well as playing the narrator in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's about a Kim Philby style traitor who is put under the knife by the Soviets and sent back to England to get a book containing names of all their agents going back to the 1940s. He then goes AWOL and tries to buy his freedom and a new identity in England from the British, whilst pretending to be still using the cover the Soviets had given him. And there's a complication which has a daughter in it. It's overall, I enjoyed the film. It's not the greatest film ever known, but it's a good sort of good film if you want to just enjoy yourself. Doug Goldwolf spy film. Then we have what I think, by the look of the cover, is a pirated version of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is the Terry Gilliam film. It's an adaptation of Hunter Thompson's book of the same name, which I've read, which I enjoyed, and this is a really entertaining film. It's probably the closest you'll ever get to the book on screen, and Terry Gilliam was perfect director for that choice, because he has the sort of, he understood clearly what he was meant to do, and it's worth a read and it's worth a watch, and the book is well worth a read. That I haven't read since 2009. I'm going to have to get that and read that at some point. Then we have one which I was given, which is a TV series called The Grogs. I have never seen this, and at some point I've got to watch it. It's from it's 2001. If Vane might know this because he's slightly older than me, so he might remember this, but I certainly don't. Or I think this was broadcast on Welsh TV. S4C, which is the Welsh language TV channel in the UK. So if there's anybody who's Welsh, or for example, KD Books, I'll link. He might have watched this because he's a bit young. He's a bit younger than I am, but he is Welsh, and I think he can. I think he's a Welsh language speaker, so he might have watched this. I should say all the channels I'm mentioning, I'll leave a link in the description down below. Then we have Moulin Rouge, which is Baz Luhrmann's film, with Nicole Kidman, Ewan McGregor, and Richard Roxburgh, as well as Jim Broadbent. It's a musical film. I like it. Though I've got to say, the opening musical number is the best thing about the film. Both the Green Fairy and the Diamond Dogs, Diamonds Are Forever bit. With Nicole Kidman doing the Diamonds Are Forever is really good. But the rest of the film is entertaining. Next one is, next to, in fact, I have two ones that I've had since I was 11 or 12. When I was I went to Stourbridge, and in what was then the Moore Centre, what now is the Tesco, there was a sort of market on a Saturday afternoon, and there was a store that used to sell all sorts of stuff. Noticeably used to sell Doctor Who VHSs, so the first ever Doctor Who VHS I bought there, which was the Cowboys, William Hartnell, from Story from the First Doctor, William Hartnell. And I bought these two. So one is the Zulu War, which is about the history of the Zulu War. narrated by. It is Brian. Let me see if it says here. This one's narrated by Robert Powell, and then we have the Culloden. Yeah, one about the Battle of Culloden and the Fortified Rising, which is narrated by Brian Blessed. There is also another one of these, which was about the British Empire as a whole, sort of the British Empire in the Victorian era, which is also narrated by Brian Blessed. I'll have to see if I've got. I think I might have that, or if I haven't, I'll have to see if it's on eBay. Because they're not very long. This is only 55 minutes, and this one is 55 minutes. But they're good sort of introductions. And in fact, in the British Empire one, it was the first proper introduction I got to the Jameson Raid of 1895, which I'd never actually heard of before that point. Something else that another event in British South African history, like the first Boer War, which doesn't really get mentioned, which I don't think there's too many books about it, even though it's a fascinating event. It's usually sort of an event that's regarded in Second Boer War histories as one of the events that build up to that war. But I'm not sure if there's too many histories on it. If there is, if anybody is watching this and you know any books about the Jameson Raid, please leave it in the comments, because I'd like to know, because I'd like to read more about it. It's an event I find fascinating. So the next is a couple of games. First one is Battlefield 1, which I finally bought and got to started playing in January this year. I've played almost all the missions except the Royal Flying Corps one, and I, for some reason, can't get past that, which is irritating because I've got the DLCs for this, and I can't play the DLCs until I've played got past the Royal Flying Corps missions. However, I do enjoy the other missions. I really do enjoy. I like the Arabian one because there's a lot of stealth in it. I also like the tank one, particularly the one part of the tank missions where you've got to recover the engine, the parts from the other tanks that they're in the German occupied village, stealthily. And in that, you get to use it's a silenced SMLE, a silenced 1903 Springfield, and a silenced, I think it's 1911, Colt 1911, and you get to be very stealthy there. And I have been replaying it recently. I was able to do that mission, kill a couple of Germans, and get out without being detected, which I felt very proud of myself doing that. Next one is a game I've not been able to play because my Xbox One, this isn't forward compatible with anything after an Xbox 360, which is From Russia with Love. It's the game. It's very much an adaptation of the film, and it's a really good one. They actually got Sean Connery to play himself, to voice Bond again. Really entertaining video game. It's a great pity they didn't do more in this style. You could quite easily, I think, and make a hell of a lot of money doing this, and do video games of all the films in the styles of the year in which they're made. So do all the Connery films in this style. Do all the Roger Moore films in the sort of style of his era, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and so on. It would really work, and you'd earn a lot of money doing it. Just bear with a second, I've just got to check something. No, sorry about that. Thought there was something missing. Next one is Great Gatsby, again by Baz Luhrmann. Really entertaining. It's an adaptation of the Fitzgerald novel. It's very much musical, music centric, and I enjoyed it. It's not. I don't think it's a particularly faithful adaptation of the book, but I've got to say I enjoyed this more than I necessarily enjoyed the book. But well worth a watch if you never watched it. Next one is a game that I have in fact played, which I'm continuing to play. The first time I played this was about 2013, which is Grand Theft Auto 5. Great game. Though my personal favourite Grand Theft Auto game is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But again, if you've not played this, which I'm surprised anybody who plays video games who hasn't played this, if you're not somebody who plays video games, or if you are somebody who's played video games and you haven't played this, which is an unlikely eventuality, well worth a go. Spare me a second. Another copy of Moulin Rouge. Not sure why I got two copies. Well, that's the other copy I've got. Just take a look. Oh, it's got more special features on this one than that one. 2 discs, this one, single disc, that one. Anyway, so same thing, but as I say, 2 discs, so it's got more background details on Johns and stuff. Next one is one that my granddad did for me, was over 10 years ago now, or nearly 20 years ago now, which is Walden. My granddad was a big fan of horror films. This is my paternal grandfather. Sorry, maternal grandfather, my dad's dad. And he used to go to a lot of big horror film fan. He used to go to a lot of pirated ones on DVD. And he used to let me have it, and either the Legion wanted, and so this was one of them. There's a sort of Nazi zombies sort of revived themselves in 2005, 2006 America. It's not very good, but it's enjoyment. It'll pass an hour or two. Next one is a game that it's actually not a game. This is a DVD Sean gave me, which is of a series. It's of a BBC ghost story from the 1970s by a very famous science fiction writer, TV science fiction writer in Britain called Nigel Neal, called the Stone Tape. It was a part of that Ghost Story for Christmas series that was mainly consisted of adaptations of M.R. James stories that started in the early 70s, but this was one of the original ones that were done for that series. And it's really good. It's based on the theory at the time that ghosts weren't spirits, they were merely recordings of impressions of humans left on stones that could soak that up and then replay it. And so that's the idea that's in the premise of the story. It's really well done, and I can highly recommend this. This has actually got a commentary with Nigel Neal on and Kim Newman, where Nigel Neal discusses this story. It's got quite a few people in. It's got Jane Asher, as you can see on the front there. It's got Michael Bryant. It's got Michael Bates, Ian Cuthbertson in it as well. It's really, really well done. Really entertaining story. Next one is a story by an author. This is a TV series which has the name of a romance author, romance family saga author, Rosamund Pilcher. Now, I've read a few Rosamund Pilcher stories, books. I've enjoyed them, particularly Winter Solstice. And this is apparently based on her books. But I can't find the books that these are based on. So what I think happened was that in the 1990s and early 2000s, and so through the 2000s, Rosamund Pilcher's books were adapted in the UK and also adapted as joint Anglo-German productions in that period. And so what I think happened was that after they'd adapted a few of the books, the German side of things, which is, let me see here, ZDF, probably approached and said, we've got this idea of a story, it's in the style of yours, can we put your name on it? Or she approached them with a story and they developed into a TV series. I saw this for the first time about 12 years ago. Yeah, about 2012 on Channel 5, and I really enjoyed it. It's very soap opera-y, very sort of over the top furniture, sort of chewing the furniture acting. You got in it obviously the British actors. You got Michael York and Tom Conti. Michael York is a villain who's enjoying himself to no end with the furniture chewing. Sorry, with the scenery chewing. Frank Finley's in it, who's quite entertaining. Who's doing who's acting. Is somewhat reminiscent of the Earl of Emsworth in the Blandings books, the P.G. Wodehouse. You have Jesse Nero, Franco Nero. I think that's the name, Franco Nero. Let me just make sure of that. See if it's certainly. Oh, bugger, didn't say. Yeah, Franco Nero. And also, you've got Juliet Mills, who plays. They are two brothers, and Frank Finlay is their father, and Juliet Mills plays the aunt to these two. And Frank Finlay is sort of his most sort of Lord Ainsworth like when she appears on screen. Very entertaining, very enjoyable. Well worth the find if you can, if you get it. Sadly, it's not on YouTube, which you would expect because all the other sort of Rosamund Pilcher stuff is on YouTube, particularly Winter Solstice, the adaptation. The next one is a film that I actually have a review on the channel, which is Get Carter by Mike Hodges, with the main character Jack Carter, played by Michael Caine. It's a classic British crime film, well worth a watch if you've not seen it. And this actually has an audio commentary with Michael Caine, Mike Hodges the director, and Wolfgang Schutinsky, who is the cinematographer. And it really watching it with a commentary is really good because you get a lot of the sort of details of the filming is interesting, like the fact that Michael Caine couldn't drive a car. He didn't. In fact, I don't think Michael Caine learned to drive a car until the 1980s. So all the scenes that Michael Caine is driving in this film, he sat in the car and somebody else, when in the scenes where you can see him drive in the driving seat, he's being either pulled along or pushed along. And all the rest of the time, when he's meant to be driving, he's obviously a double, which I didn't know until I watched the audio, until I listened to it, until I watched this with the audio commentary. There is also in here a music track only, which I don't quite understand. I don't understand why you'd want to watch this film without the audio track only, given it's got such classic lines like the one Michael Caine says to Ian Hendry. He takes off his sunglasses and says, "Eyes like piss holes in the snow." Or the other one where Michael Caine meets Brumby and Brumby's playing up because he's walked into his house after Brumby's daughter's had this party. He's kicked all her friends' house, and he sort of goes. And he goes up and he starts going up to Michael Caine and says, "Right, behave yourself. You're a big man, but you're out of shape. With me, it's a full-time job." It's really, but however, that said, the music for this is great, particularly the theme tune by Roy Budd is magnificent. Very redolent to the era and a perfect soundtrack for this film. The next one is actually a game that I've never played. Although I haven't actually played this one, this game, but I have played the franchise, which is Total War. This is Rome Total War. I've got Rome Total War, Rome 2, and I played Napoleon Total War, Empire Total War, and Medieval 2, and I've enjoyed them, but I've not got around to playing Rome Total War, mainly because I can't play it on this Mac, and my laptop, which plays up quite a lot, it's one lower than it. It's not powerful enough to play it, so it's very janky when I try and play Rome 2. However, the other ones, Napoleon Total War, Empire Total War, and Medieval 2, which I really do enjoy, I have played and I really enjoyed them. I'm going to have to at some point buy a cheap gaming laptop so I can actually play them again. Next one is the first season of Boardwalk Empire, which I can recommend. It's about the beginning of Prohibition and the involvement with gangsters in Atlantic City in New Jersey. Well worth watch. In fact, well worth the whole series to watch, which is complete. I think it finished in 2018, so you don't have to worry about waiting for the series. Really good. The next one is a set of films which I actually spoke about on my live stream, and actually I spoke about in the second part of this book, this library tour, which are the three of the five. Three of the five. Yes, I think three of the five Fu Manchu 60s films, with Christopher Lee playing Fu Manchu. Very politically incorrect, but Christopher Lee is great in it. This is the first one, which is the one that is most reminiscent of the original novel, The Mysteries of Fu Manchu. And it has the great production values, great scripts, great directing, great acting, with Nigel Green playing Sir Dennis Nathan-Smith in a very different way from the actor who would succeed him in it, but very good. The next film is Rise of Fu Manchu, which is, I enjoyed it. It's not as good as Faces of Fu Manchu, but it is reasonably good and it's well worth a watch. And it has Douglas Wilmer taking over from Nigel Green as Dennis Nathan-Smith. And then finally, they have the three I've got, Vengeance of Fu Manchu, which I think is somewhat better than the Rise of Fu Manchu, and is a lot more sort of horror inflected. One of the interesting things when you listen to the audio commentaries to this and the documentary, but the extras on this, it's when these films are made, Christopher Lee is very Christopher Lee was a big fan of Fu Manchu, of the novels, and he was very unhappy the fact that they weren't adapting the books, but he was also unhappy that it wasn't very horror inflected. And so with the first two films, he was very unhappy about this. But with this one, he was quite happy. He felt this was very more horror inflected and quite happy about that. Though not the only thing, though he was unhappy about other elements of it. But again, they were well worth a watch. And I am at some point going to get the other two films in this Indicator set. You can find the full set on Blu-ray, but that costs a fortune, so I'm buying them individually. So I should get them. I'm not in any hurry to get them, so I'll probably get them. So I'll probably get either this side, probably more likely the other side of New Year. Next one is another film. Is a adaptation of a Edgar Wallace story called The Flying Squad, and a film that has a young Jack Higgins in, and it's also got, I forgot his name now. Basil Radford, who's probably most famous from the Hitchcock film The Lady Vanishes, where he plays one of the two sort of very breaker characters from that, Chandos and Caldecott. This is about drug smuggling to Britain in 1939. This was made in 1940, but this film was set just before the Second World War. It's entertaining. It's only an hour long. And it has some entertaining characters. Basil Radford plays this sort of very sort of arch old lag who turns to the good at the end of the film. It's really entertaining. And it's only an hour long, so it won't be too bad. Next, these are, I bought these off eBay. They are a collection of Callan Manalo. These are there was a collection of Callan. There's a collection of Callan stuff. Collections of Callan. There's Callan the monochrome years, Callan the colour years, and then there's another set which is Callan Man Alone, which is all about the background to the series, and it's got a few. On this, it's got a few episodes as well. But what I would like to do is get the full Callan, both the monochrome years, the colour years, as well as the film, and also the TV, the sort of sequel TV version called Wet Job, which was from the early 80s, which I have seen, but I haven't got. That's something I want to get as well, but that will have to be in the new year, because my big thing to get this year is the Ghost Stories. It's the DVD version of the Ghost Stories for Christmas, the M.I. James thing. So there we go. Next couple are these are, again, these are films that I've referenced both in previously, I think, in this series, and as well as in something on the live stream, this is a DVD Blu-ray double set of, well, that's The Devil Rides Out, which I regard as the greatest thing Hammer ever made, and then To the Devil Daughter. These are both adaptations of Dennis Wheatley novels. This is the better one, and it's pretty much it's Dennis Wheatley on film, really. This is not so much. It's all right. It's an alright film, but compared to this and compared to the original novel, To the Devil's Daughter, it's not very good. If you're going to get this, I would recommend getting this one because there's a lot. Because the original version of this I had the DVDs. There was one I had a DVD of it from about 2004, and all it had on it was an episode of in the 80s Hammer. Well, in the 90s, Hammer brought out a sort of documentary series where they covered sort of their films and their outputs, and they had an episode on, and on the DVD they had an episode of that on there, and also an audio commentary with Christopher Lee, let's see, Sarah Lawson, who plays, let's see if she's on there, that's Sarah Lawson there, who wife of Patrick Allen, who voices that chap there, even though he's played by Leon Green, who's had a perfectly good voice at the time. In fact, at the time when he was cast, he was in a TV series, and so it must have been very confusing to people when they saw him on screen in this film, and then he had a completely different voice. But it has to come to, as I say, with Christopher Lee, Sarah Lawson, and Marcus Hearn, who's a historian. And it's also that was on that DVD, which is on this. But however, this has got quite a few other sort of documentaries, as well as that one from Hammer itself, which is called World of Hammer, episode called Hammer. But I would get that, whereas this one has only got one documentary on it, and it's got an original trailer. It hasn't got a audio commentary. You can get that if you want, but the original DVD version, which came out I think in about 2006, has got a documentary on. From what I can remember, that documentary is reasonably good as well. So definitely get, if you're thinking of buying the two but you don't know which one to buy, go for that first and then go for that afterwards. Next one is From Hell, which is the Jack the Ripper film based on the Alan Moore comic. I should say graphic novel. Enjoyable film. Not a very good. It's an enjoyable film, but not a very good film about Jack the Ripper. It sort of plays on the Stephen. I've forgotten his name now. Yeah, anyway, he came up with the idea that it was a royal conspiracy, which is utter nonsense. It wasn't, but so it's not very good history, but it is a good film. It really is an enjoyable film. And the next one is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, based on another graphic novel by Alan Moore. This is a film that is not very well liked by people, but I do enjoy it. It's got all sorts of it's a sort of crossover. So you've got Alan Quatermain, Tom Sawyer, Mina Harker, Dorian Gray, Captain Nemo, The Invisible Man. Let's see if we're going to get else. Oh yes, and there's Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll. And it's a really enjoyable film. But I like it. I've got to say, I like it because I saw this when this came out 7 years ago. 2003, so I would have been 12. And it's a film that, if you're 12 years old, you will enjoy it. And I will say one thing in defence of this film. Until this point, I had never actually read The Picture of Dorian Gray, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or King Solomon's Mines. And all, for that matter, 20,000 Leagues from Under the Sea. But I knew those I'd watched film versions of them, but I hadn't actually read them. And this film prompted me to read them. So it does have a good. So if you give this to a child and they watch it and enjoy it, they will probably go on to read the books that these characters are from. So that's one good thing to say. One objectively good thing to say in favour of this film. Probably the only objectively good thing to say about this film if you're not a fan like me. Oh, and this is this is the film where Richard Roxburgh plays Professor Moriarty. So that's the next ones are all a part of the same series, this is Regan. which was done as a part of, as it says here, Armchair Theatre as a pilot, and then it was turned into The Sweeney. And so I have watched that. I would recommend getting this DVD because it's got a commentary with Dennis Waterman, Ted Charles, and Tom Clegg, where they discuss the filming of this. And then you've got the full set of The Sweeney, which I've not yet watched all the way through, but I am going to at some point. And then you have the 2 films, which I highly recommend these films. They're 2 very different films. The first one is clearly based on the Perfume Affair, except it's a lot more bloody, and the Stephen Ward character is American and very much a sinister character, whereas the real Stephen Ward in the Perfume Affair definitely wasn't. But it's entertaining. The second one is about a bunch of bank robbers who keep robbing banks in Britain, but then make their escape to live a life of luxury in Malta, and they keep returning to the UK when they want to get more money. But it also has sort of very sort of smaller bits and pieces of it. Like there's an element, there's a scene where a man has taken a bomb to his room in a hotel, and the hotel gets shut down, and they're sort of discussing what they're going to do. And George Carter, played by Dennis Waterman, is sent up to speak to the bloke, whilst all the other coppers, including Jack Regan, are down in the bar of the hotel drinking, because it's an open bar and the hotel's paying for everything. And then it turns out that the gentleman with the bomb isn't a terrorist. He's in fact a man who found the bomb in Beirut and decided to bring it to London so he could take it apart and disarm it in the calm and quiet of his hotel room. It's a very funny film, very entertaining film, really action. The robbery scenes are really good, and the end scene is really good as well. And then finally we have the Sherlock Holmes collection of Sherlock Holmes at the BBC. So this has got, let's just tip now. So we have the Sherlock Holmes stories of with Peter Cushing. The BBC did Sherlock Holmes adaptation in the 60s. Initially, it wasn't actually with Peter Cushing, it was actually with Douglas Filmer, who played Dennis Allen Smith in The Brides of Fu Manchu and The Revenge of Fu Manchu. And he did it for one series, and then for some reason, I can't remember why, he didn't go on. And then Peter Cushing took over from him. And in this box set, I think you've got all the Peter Cushing BBC films. So you've got that one. In fact, Peter Cushing played Sherlock Holmes in the Hammer version of Hand of the Baskervilles, with Christopher Lee playing the heir of the Baskerville fortune, who was the one being threatened. Then we have there we go, Hand of the Baskervilles, the BBC version, and then we have more. Then we have the other ones. So the other ones there. In fact, Sign of Fall. I've actually seen that Sign of Fall, and there's another one that actually there's another set of. There's another Sherlock Holmes where Peter Cushing did it in the 1980s. I can't remember what it's called. I think it might be actually another adaptation of the Signs of Fall. But anyway, that's really good. There's also, when it comes to BBC adaptations, and a connection to Fu Manchu, there's 2 made-for-TV Sherlock Holmes films, feature-length TV films, with Christopher Lee playing Sherlock Holmes and Patrick Macnee from of the Avengers fame, British Avengers, where he played Steed, playing Dr. Watson in Holmes' Retirement, which were produced by Harry Alan Towers, who was the bloke who wrote and produced those Fu Manchu films. And also there are 2 TV film. Sherlock Holmes with Ian Richardson playing Sherlock Holmes, one of which is the Sign of Fall, and the other one which is the Hand of the Baskervilles, which I recommend if you find them. And the next one is the BBC Hand of the Baskervilles, where you can see here on the front there in the centre, Richard Roxburgh playing Sherlock Holmes. So he's one of the few actors I think that's played by Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty, though I will say not in a Sherlock Holmes film. I mean, that's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, with Ian Holm playing Dr. Watson. And then we have the sequel to this, which is actually a original story, Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Silk Stocking. Silk Stocking, with Rupert Everett playing the character, which is actually quite good, and Holmes playing Watson again. Well worth a watch that. It's an interesting one as a original Sherlock Holmes story. And then finally, this is actually a documentary about Sherlock Holmes, about Arthur Conan Doyle and his views and attitudes towards Sherlock Holmes. It's I think this book is this sort of drama documentary sort of set around the time that he killed off Sherlock Holmes at the end of the Final Problem. No, I forgot. Is the Final Problem? Yes. Oh, I think it is the Final Problem where he goes to Moriarty and ends up fighting and struggle with Moriarty off Reichenbach Falls. Anyway, it's a really good, entertaining one. There is actually a TV series, if you can find it. It was made by the BBC. I could understand why it wasn't added into this, because it's quite a big TV series called The Murder Rooms, which is sort of inspired by Sherlock Holmes, of Arthur Conan Doyle and his sort of mentor at Edinburgh, I think it's Edinburgh University. I forgot the name of it right now. He was one of the blokes who inspired Sherlock Holmes. Oh, if I can remember it, I'll read it. But the series called Murder Rooms. I think it's actually on YouTube as well. You can watch it. I'd recommend that. And so that is the end of that's all the DVDs and Blu-rays and games I have with me. So with that, BookTube, I'll say goodbye, and I will see you later.